It's time for Tech Talk on Binjang 91.5 with Mathew Dickerson, and I'm your host, Tony Graham. Good afternoon, Matthew.
Hey, good afternoon, Tony. Still sitting here on a wonderful Paddy's Day. I hope you've had a good Paddy's Day.
Well, you're still wearing that silly hat from early
all day. I've been wearing it.
from early morning right up until this afternoon.
Hey, you've got to celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
Well, congratulations. You're very persistent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, now, Matthew, I believe that you fell in love with the Ember Smart Mug, and you think I could too.
I think you could, Tony.
You reckon I could?
Anyone that drinks coffee, anyone that's a coffee fan,
Yes.
then having the coffee at the right temperature all the way through the cup is critically important.
So you've tested this.
Oh, absolutely. And,
Yes.
and around that 55...
You've got one.
55 to 56 degrees Celsius is the critical temperature range, the Goldilocks zone, if you like, of coffee.
Right.
Now, when you get your coffee, you might get it a bit hotter than that because you want it to stay relatively warm, and you might get it at, say, 60, 65 degrees, a bit hot. And then as it cools down by the end of the coffee cup, you might be down to, say, 50 or 45 degrees Celsius. And it's just not good enough, Tony. It's not good enough.
I better get the thermometer out and check this.
And check it as you go.
Yeah.
So the idea of the Ember coffee cup is that, and there are other coffee cups similar, that it basically is a heated coffee cup. So you sit it in the holder, it actually heats the cup as you go. It's got a battery inside it lasts about 2 hours, so you can have a 2-hour drink of coffee or a cup of coffee, and it keeps it around that temperature. You can change the temperature, of course, but usually you want to have around that 55 to 56 degrees Celsius. So you know we've advanced as a society when we can keep the coffee at exactly the right temperature, Tony. We've now made it.
Oh, I'm just gobsmacked. Now, I tell you what, I think you could probably use this as a test when you go to employ somebody to see which ones actually go for this, because the ones that go for it, I'm sure, are very petty-minded people. Time wasters, etc., etc.
On the contrary, they like things accurate, Tony.
Oh, right, okay. Well, Matthew,
It's a fine line.
I just found out which camp you're in.
Accuracy is critical, Tony, critical.
Yes, well, I must say that the author of this article, the original one, I was cynical about it to start with, but then he was wishing someone would part with $150 to buy him one.
They're not cheap. Any of these sort of gadgets aren't cheap, but they're good fun.
Yeah. Just like that hat. I wonder if that's temperature controlled. Now, all Australian Apple stores have been shut to halt the coronavirus spread. However, Samsung has offered instead to clean their iPhones.
So I love this bit of competition between Apple and Samsung. So Apple did close their stores in China. They've now reopened them in China. But across Australia and basically everywhere outside China, they've said they're now closing the stores as of a couple of days ago through to the 27th of March. So that's it. If you want a repair done on an iPhone, you want to go and buy a new iPhone, you just can't go into an Apple store to do that. Samsung, on the other hand, who have some of their concept stores around as well, have said, we're not closing our stores, but we're going to take something as a very proactive measure. We're going to offer a free cleaning service for telephones, including your iPhone. So if you want to get your iPhone clean, come into the Samsung store.
Exactly.
And while you're there, maybe have a look at the Samsung phone as an alternative to an iPhone. So I love that ongoing competition. I mean, it's a very serious issue, obviously, coronavirus. And Apple have taken that step. And Samsung, I mean, each company's open to do what they think is the best step forward. They believe they can still protect their staff and their customers, but again, cleaning phones is an interesting concept that they've really targeted as a way to try and bring people into their stores.
Nothing like a bit of stiff competition.
That's right, I like it.
And on the other hand, smartphones harbour germs. We know that.
Yeah.
Bacteria and germs, same thing. And could even spread coronavirus. Now, we've got some suggestions as to how to clean them, haven't we?
We have, and so you're spot on. You've got a phone that's near your mouth, you're talking on it, so it's near your mouth, you've got germs, you're breathing onto it. And then what do? You take your phone and you swipe it with your fingers, so you've got germs on the phone, you swipe it with your fingers, and then of course you go and touch a doorknob or you might touch other people. So suddenly you're spreading these germs around, so the smartphone is a really good way to spread germs. And so cleaning, and it's a little bit different now to how it used to be to clean a phone even just a few years ago. If you've got one of the latest smartphones that is IP67 or IP68 compliant, then you can literally put it under a tap. Now, you don't want to have the water running too fast. It can penetrate some of the actual holes or openings on there. So you just want to have slow running water over there and actually just rinse the phone is a really effective way to clean it. Now, again, make sure it is one of the phones that is IP67 or IP68. Don't go and take a phone that's an older phone that's not compliant and then you put it under water and it stops working. So no good there. So that's one way to do it. A lint-free cloth is another way to do it. But even just some of the alcohol cleaning products, and again, one of the things I always stress to people when cleaning it with some of those alcohol products is not to pour it directly onto the phone. Don't squirt it on the phone. Take a cleaning cloth, squirt it on the cloth, and just wipe it over it. Keep in mind, the actual touch screen on most phones does have a surface there. There's a coating on there. So if you start scrubbing it too hard or putting too much product on there to rub it off, you'll actually rub that surface off. And there's been some tests done where some people have sat there and wiped it over 1,000 times just to see if the coating's still there. And it is, again, if you don't attack it too aggressively. When you're cleaning it, you're not like buffing a car trying to take off a few layers of paint and get down to that nice paint underneath. All you're trying to do is wipe the germs off it. So what I'd say to people in very short summary, rinse it under a tap if it is one of the latest ones and then wipe over it. Or if not, one of the latest phones, use a lint-free cloth, and then both types, some alcohol, squirt it onto a cloth and just wipe over it. And I think that's a good, effective way. And I'd recommend at the moment, again, I'm not trying to be a health expert here, but I'd recommend doing those things on a regular basis throughout the day. Even just if you've got some hand sanitizer with you, just having that on a cloth and just wiping some of that over the phone as well. Because again, that alcohol, the idea of alcohol is that it evaporates very quickly.
It does. Look, Matthew, it's not so easy finding alcohol-based cleaning products, I might add. You go into a supermarket, you read all the labels, and most of them are a chloride-based product with other things in it. So it's not as if though you can walk into a supermarket and readily find it. The nearest alcohol I could find in the supermarket was methylated spirits, and it's a little bit different as far as the way you handle that when it comes to using it. But that certainly is the same thing, although it might be a little bit stronger. And I think they recommend that you slightly dilute it, but you must have 60% alcohol in solution. And the reason for it is because if you use pure methylated spirits, it evaporates too quickly to actually penetrate. It doesn't have enough time to penetrate the virus. If you put a bit of water with it, it will actually slow down the evaporation and you'll get the penetration.
And I don't want to use brand names here, obviously, because we're not trying to plug any particular product, but any of the products that you would clean your glasses with, products that you would clean glass with. So there are common products, brand name products out there. Again, most of those products that are trying to give you a streak-free finish use a product that's quick to evaporate. And that's the important part when you're cleaning your phone. You want to evaporate quickly. So they'll have a small amount of detergent in there and some agent, whether it be alcohol or other, to evaporate quickly. Squirt that onto a cloth and wipe over it is a good, effective way to clean your phone.
And a bit of detergent can help break down the fat around the coronavirus, plus acts as a spreader across the surface.
What most people don't realise when they wash their hands with soap, they think they're killing the virus, but they're not. No. The soap is just used as a way to wash it away. It makes it slippery. So
it's an abrasive substance.
So it basically allows that to be washed down the drain, which is why they say wash your hands for a long period of time and use lots of soap. So look, just be sensible with that washing, but it's a good idea in my opinion just to keep that phone a bit cleaner than you normally would.
Now, a little bit more disturbing, the next subject, but related to what we've been talking about, is hackers preying on the fears of the coronavirus or COVID-19. And how are they doing this, Matthew? You might like to explain that.
Yeah, it is. It's very sad, isn't it? Yes. We've got human nature that has something that is as terrible as the coronavirus spreading across the world, and yet some scammers see an opportunity there. And so they're sending out phishing emails is probably the most common thing that we're seeing at the moment. So you've got phishing emails, new cure for coronavirus, click on this link, and of course that link will usually infect your PC or put a keylogger on so people can watch what you're doing, type passwords in. I even saw a whole range of scams that said COVID-19 tax refund. And I thought that's really stretching the limit there, isn't it, when you've got a tax refund linked with COVID-19. I'm not sure how those two would possibly link together, but scammers are doing this. So when you see any emails come through, and again, there are websites as well that obviously aren't legitimate websites, but the most common thing we're seeing is that phishing email. When you see a phishing email that says in some way, shape or form that it relates to COVID-19 or the coronavirus, then just look at it with a very sceptical set of eyes and think about it, and then really have a good look at the actual link or attachment that it's trying to get you to click on.
Yeah.
I would recommend not clicking on any of those, but even an attachment sometimes, people will send things through. And I saw a very simple one the other day where it was an organisation who was advertising for a job, so they were advertising for a new employee, so they were expecting to get resumes in.
Yeah.
A resume came in, but the resume was an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know anyone that would have their resume as an Excel spreadsheet, and so my antennae went up ever so slightly to
Yes.
say, this doesn't look legitimate.
Yeah.
And then when you had another good read of it, you went, no, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And the reason they might use an Excel spreadsheet is because they can run a macro in an
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheet, whereas if they just sent something like a PDF through a normal Adobe Acrobat document, then it's not going to have some sort of macro
No.
that can go and infect your system.
Yeah.
But with an Excel spreadsheet, it can do that. And so this
Yes.
was just a scam, and they had actually, I'm guessing here, but had some sort of bot that went out looking for companies advertising for new employees, and then that was their way of targeting those particular organisations.
Yeah.
So you've just got to be so careful.
Well, the times we live in.
Yes.
Anyway, you've been listening to Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson and Tony Graham on Binjang 91.5, and I hope by the time I see you next, Mathew, you'll ditch that silly hat. And otherwise, happy Patrick's Day to everybody. And it's back to the program now on Binjang 91.5.